We are going live now.
Yay!
Yay, you are live. Excellent. Okay, cool.
Hello!
Hi. Yay, we're here. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. We're just setting up because my Wi-Fi was dumb. But yes. Hi.
Hi.
Yay. Hi. I'm going to change that back way. There we go. So welcome to a live reading. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So we are here today with Rapunzel and the Lost Lagoon by Leila Howland. Yay. How are we feeling?
Good.
Good. We're very excited. We have our Lagoon bracelets on for this. We have our Lagoon bracelets. If you don't know what the Lagoon bracelets are, you are going to find out. So, can everyone hear well? Also, can everyone hear? Because I can't really tell. I see that.
Oh yeah, the little guy's going.
Is the little guy going?
I think so.
I don't see anyone going. Everyone give an okay if you can hear.
Can you hear?
Can you hear? Yes. Okay, cool. Yes, everyone can hear. Good on this end. Awesome.
Yay.
Sounds good, bruh.
Bruh.
It's also very rainy today, so you can see my hair is being puffy, which is great. All right. Sounds gross. Oh, good. Sounds gross. Okay, so Rapunzel and the Lost Lagoon came out in 2017 when the show was just, in its baby stages.
Mm-hmm.
When we heard about the synopsis, we didn't really believe it was true. And we didn't believe that it was actually going to come out. We were like, how could a book actually be about these two beautiful girls? So the chapters are written in the point of view of Rapunzel and Cassandra, and they go back and forth. So how we're going to read them is like that. And we're going to just pass it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Thank you for joining us. We're going to just start. We're going to go for about an hour probably.
Mm-hmm.
Just see how it goes. So, okay, without further ado, Rapunzel and the Lost Lagoon. And I think it starts with you, Raps. Yes, it does.
Keep in mind, neither of us are professional speakers or readers. So bear with us if we stumble over words.
Mm-hmm.
I was never a good reader in school when it came to reading out loud. I always got very self-conscious, but
We all did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just bear with us. We are amateurs. We are not affiliated with Disney. We are not making money. We are just having fun in quarantine, and we just, like to do story time. We just got this idea, just, little treat. So
I'm going to set our timer just for reference. Okay. All right.
cool. Part one. Oh, and she is wearing her new dress, everyone.
Yay! Sponsored by Secret Honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, her new series dress. That's perfect.
All right. Part 1, Chapter 1. All right, Pascal. If I can get just a little higher, I'll have the perfect view to paint, I said as I hooked my leg over the tree branch. If my hair were still 70 feet long, I'd use it to climb this tree, probably reaching the top branches in seconds. But now I had to use my legs. I jumped up and caught a low branch, then pulled myself onto it. Slowly and steadily, I stood up. Pascal, my pet chameleon, who was perched on my shoulder and clinging to my neck for dear life, let out a small gasp. It's okay, Pascal, I got you. And anyway, since when are you afraid of heights? I teased. Pascal groaned. After all, we'd spent nearly 18 years in a tower. But out of the corner of my eye, I could see his little grin. I balanced on the tree branch, reaching for a leafy branch above. As eyes stretched up, I felt myself wobble, and Pascal tightened his grasp. Whoa, I said, with a laugh as I teetered for a second before grabbing hold of the branch, feet dangling, and Pascal yelped. No way I'm turning back now. I've waited all day for this moment. I truly had. I'd felt so out of place all day in my new role as princess, and I was hoping painting as oh my god, I can't. And I was hoping painting an inspiring view would be just what I needed. The castle grounds my dad had instructed to follow me. Oh my god. Okay. The castle guards my dad had instructed to follow me everywhere didn't help me feel any more at home. I pretended not to see them watching me as I pulled myself up. Wow, I said when I reached the perfect perch. It's beautiful. The landscape unfurled in front of me like a dream come true. Distant mountains, rolling green hills, and a winding river that glinted in the sunlight. As I reached for my brushes and paint, Pascal tugged on my newly short hair. Oh no, I forgot my sketch pad? Pascal nodded. I had been so focused on getting out in the fresh air and painting that I'd actually forgotten the paper. Pascal looked a bit relieved and pointed to the ground. Okay, fine, but we're coming back up here as soon as I get it. I carefully sat down on the branch and swung my legs over the side of the big limb. The first thing I saw when I looked down was my new shoes, the ones I'd kicked off as soon as I'd gotten outside. They were the most uncomfortable shoes ever. Within seconds, the guards rushed towards me, one with a ladder under his arm. I'm okay, I said. Really, I can get down on my own. Princess, we can't take any risks, a well-meaning guard said as he leaned the ladder against the tree, 2 other guards securing it with a firm grip. Thanks for the option, but I was actually looking forward to jumping, I said with a smile. Before they could protest, I did it. Pascal shut his eyes tight as I leapt on the ground and landed, as always, on my strong bare feet.
Strong.
It was my first week in Corona, and I was still getting used to all the changes. Having so many wishes come true at once was exhilarating. I had parents now, actual parents who adored me and cared for me. Not to mention true love with Eugene. Sweet, funny Eugene. Oh, and there was my new home, the stunning castle, with its turrets and lush gardens. And yet something wasn't right. Something was missing. I was hoping painting would help me find whatever that was, or at least help me end the afternoon on a happy note. All day, Fribourg, my mom's lady-in-waiting, had been teaching me royal manners. Mom had explained that Fribourg was helping me only until I had a lady-in-waiting of my own. I didn't think I needed one. Up until now, I taught myself everything, including advanced astronomy. But I was starting to realize that princesses have to do everything differently. Earlier, Fribourg had spent hours instructing me how to sit down properly, and then we'd spent the rest of the day practicing how to open a door. I wanted to do my best, but I was struggling to even have a conversation with Fribourg, since she's not exactly a big talker. So I guess you're going to show me how to sit, I asked with a tentative grin as she stood in front of me, pointing to a chair. She gave me an abrupt nod. Then she shifted her skirts, moved her knees to one side, and dropped into the chair as though she had lost feelings in her leg. Like this, I asked, keeping my back extra stiff and lowering the bottom half of my body as if it were completely disconnected from my torso. She grunted and frowned, then signaled for me to rise. Okay, I sighed, wondering how sitting down could be such an art. Was I going to have to learn everything from scratch? Would tomorrow's lesson be about how to stand up? What about walking? It was overwhelming to think about everything I needed to know. I took a breath and tried to focus on the positive. Maybe Fribourg could be my friend if I just tried a little harder. I decided to start with the basics. So which do you like better, vanilla or chocolate? She stared at me for a moment as though I just asked her something too personal, like what color her bloomers were. Oh gosh, I thought. I have so much to learn. I guess that she wasn't up for small talk, so without any conversation at all, I practiced standing and sitting until my feet swelled in my toe-pinching shoes. 3 hours and 2 blisters later, I had only learned how to sit down like a lady. But I also knew how to close a door without ever turning my back to my company or how to properly hold a teacup. Pascal snuck into the room toward the end of the day and just shook his head as if to say, manners are overrated. And I had to agree. I landed on the ground in a low crouch, and when I stood up, I couldn't believe my eyes. Eugene was there, presenting me with my sketch pad as though it were the most perfect rose. Eugene, you brought me my paper. How did you know? I know you well, Eugene said with a smile. The paints and brushes were gone, and I thought, what do you bet my girl is missing this? Aw, thanks, I said as he handed me the notebook. My shoulders dropped a half inch and warmth flooded my heart. I hugged him. For a split second, I wondered if I had done that properly. But then I remembered it was Eugene, the person I could truly be myself around. Eugene gave the guards a look and they backed off a bit. Do you notice anything different? He asked, turning in a slow circle and striking his handsome man pose, though he didn't need to posture. Eugene's warm brown eyes and mischievous smile are irresistible from any angle. I said, checking him over. Is it a new shirt? Nope. Have you had those boots polished? I asked. Well, yeah, but that's not what I was hoping you'd notice. Did the barber give you another haircut? I asked. Eugene had a royal grooming treatment every day since we arrived at the castle. Getting warmer, he said, lighting up. If you're talking about the swoop of your bangs being a little swoopier, then I don't think that really counts as a change. What do you mean it doesn't count? The steeper swoop totally changes the shape of my face, adds a touch of sophistication, don't you think? Does the word decor come to mind? Eugene, you always look great. Now, how about I race you to the top of that tree, I said, drawing a starting line in the dirt with my foot. I can't, Eugene said with a sigh. Why not? I asked, raising my eyebrow. Afraid I'll beat you? Never. Actually, your dad really wants me to brush up on some laws against criminals and the punishments for breaking them. He says it's a part of formal education that I may be lacking. Oh, I said, unable to hide my disappointment. I can't let your dad down. Having my face on wanted posters for the past few years still seems to bug him. You would think that bringing home the lost princess would absolve me of all of that forever, but oh well. Sorry about that, I said. Sorry? For what? For giving me a chance to spend the rest of my life with you? My most favorite person in the whole world? For sharing this life of cuisine and endless spa treatments? For providing me with a suite in the castle? For offering me a future as a prince seated next to my best friend? I'll study foreign fancies and diplomatic decorum and Marco and microeconomics, even microscopic economics if I have to. Is that a thing? I don't think so. But my point is, I'll join a dishwashing club or participate in a meatloaf eating competition if that's what it takes to make your dad accept me. I couldn't be happier, Rapunzel. Good, I said. You want a boost? Eugene asked, nodding toward the tree. That's okay, I said, gently punching him in the arm. You know I love an adventure, no matter how small. See you at dinner, he said. I watched Eugene walk back toward the castle. Why couldn't I be as happy as he was, I wondered. We had everything anyone could want. Was there something wrong with me? It was almost like I didn't know I was lonely when I was in the tower, but everything had changed now. I could feel the places inside of me that had been empty for so many years, and I wanted to fill them up. I took a deep breath and resolved to enjoy myself. After all, it was a perfect afternoon, and I was a girl with a pocket full of paint and a sketchbook full of paper. I decided to approach the guards and ask them for a moment of privacy. So, I'm in the garden, one with a big wall around me. Do you think I could just have half an hour by myself? They shook their heads, but I noticed the beads of sweat dripping from their foreheads. Under all their armor, they must have been roasting. It's such a warm afternoon, I said, and that fountain in the main garden looks like a perfect place to take a little break. Maybe you dip your feet in the cool water? I'm just going to be sitting in that tree, having a quiet moment of reflection. Do a little painting, you know? I bet a refreshing splash would really feel good. Are you going to take just a little break? It would make me really happy to see you happy. One of them cracked a smile, and then the others finally did too. Go on, I'll see you in just a little bit. And they finally left, giving me a precious few moments of privacy. Pascal rested on the shade below as I quickly made my way back to the perch. I was just about to pull out a brush when I saw her. There was a girl in a small hidden field. I craned my neck. She had some kind of sword or something, and it looked like she was fighting the air. Who, I wondered, was that?
I don't know. Who could it be? Her. Sorry.
And that's the end of chapter 1.
So exciting. Is that an okay type of flower? for your baking. Okay, let's put my thing away. She's here. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Chapter 2, Cassandra.
Puppy.
Pascal's right there. Oh, you should get Pascal.
Oh, he'll find his way.
Okay. Chapter 2, Cassandra. It wasn't easy to fence by myself. You might think otherwise because there aren't any stakes. I lunged and no one retreated. I struck the air and no one struck back. I couldn't lose, but I also couldn't win. That took some fun out of it. And then there's all the imagining. I had to pretend there was another person there. And I was not into playing imaginary games. But how else was I supposed to practice until I was the best? Or prove that it was my destiny, not only to be in the guard, but also to one day succeed my father as the captain. I was supposed to be doing needlework with other ladies of the court. Nightmare. I'd rather shovel sheep dung than mend clothes and gossip. I'd found this hidden spot the week before using my maps of the ancient underground tunnel system. It was about 100 paces behind one of the far gardens, close enough to the castle that I could go out there often, but remote enough that I didn't have to worry about anyone catching me shirking my duties. Shirking. Fencing helped me deal with all of my frustration. My father was driving me crazy. I'm ready for the guard, and you know it, I'd said the night before at dinner. Just give me a chance to at least try out. No, he'd said. On the winter solstice, you said you'd consider it, I pointed out, my mouth full of mutton stew. On the winter solstice? Mind your manners, he said, taking another sip from his chalice. And anyway, that was then and this is now. Everything has changed. Because of her, I said. The return of the lost princess is the best thing that's happened to Corona, my father said. He raised an eyebrow. Surely you share in the happiness of this moment, Cassandra. I would expect no less. I guess, I said, looking through the window and gazing out over the arena where the latest recruits would begin their formal training the following day. I deserve to be one of them. I bet half of them don't even know how to hold a sword, I thought, as I watched the royal flags flutter in the wind. I resolved to keep training and working as hard as I possibly could so that soon it would be impossible for my father to deny me. I'm sorry to cut this conversation short, my father said. His chair scraped the floor as he stood up from the table. There's a strategy meeting in the Great Hall. Now that the princess is back, the king wants us to have her covered at all times. What? I said. If someone chose to invade us right now, no one would even notice because the entire guard is following that girl around. It was true. Ever since the princess had returned, the whole force was focused on Rapunzel's every move, even if all she was doing was eating a cupcake or making a wish on dandelion fuzz. Did the king think that the nearby nations of Antipy, I'm guessing? Like Greek?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Did the king think that the nearby nations of Antipy, or even worse, Dionda, wouldn't notice that our borders weren't being securely guarded? That our army was distracted to the point of uselessness because of a girl's sweet tooth and her penchant for glorified weeds? If there ever was a time to attack Corona, it was now. Could the princess, who was no longer a little girl, despite the way everyone was acting, really be so naive? Did she not get the danger she was putting the kingdom in? I opened my mouth to speak, but my father cut me off. Have you forgotten that the king took his eyes off of her for a moment 18 years ago, and she was taken? His voice was even, but the vein at his temple throbbed. She was a baby then, I said. Well, that girl is the princess of Corona. You're going to have to meet her sometime. Not if I can help it, I thought. My father gave me a stern look and shut the door behind him. Now, at my practice ground, I thumbed through the pages of my training manual. The book naturally opened to the page I'd read the most, the one with the description of the winged beast, the warrior move that was guaranteed to get someone in the guard. The only problem was that it required more than one person to pull off. Unlike fencing, it was totally impossible to do alone. I sighed and decided to try the shot put. Throwing the heavy spear a great distance was one of the first requirements for joining the guard, and I was planning on setting a record. I lifted the shot, assumed the position, and threw it as high and as long as I ever had. Ah! A voice cried. I looked up and saw someone in a tree. She scrambled down after the shot. Even though I was 100 paces away, I felt in my bones that it was that girl. Rapunzel.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3. Have to say
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel.
Of all the things I was expecting to happen in the garden that afternoon, having a mini cannonball thrown at me was not one of them. As the black sphere hurtled toward me and landed with a thud in the grass, I stared at it in wide-eyed wonder for half a second and then shimmied out of the tree to inspect the foreign object. Whoa, I said to myself as I picked it up, not expecting it to be as heavy as it was. Pascal and I glanced at each other. He shook his head. Obviously, he didn't know what it was either. She's strong, I said. He nodded. When she'd thrown it, it had seemed as light as an apple. But this was not a piece of fruit. It was some kind of weapon or something for sport. I tucked it under my arm and with a lot of effort climbed back up the tree. I wanted to show the girl that I had her cannonball thing, but she was gone, totally out of sight. She was strong and fast and mysterious. Now I really wanted to meet her. Whatever this is, I'm sure she'll want it, I thought. The chances seemed slim that I'd run into her, but there was no way I wasn't going to at least try. As soon as I entered the main garden, the guards, who seemed so happy frolicking in the fountain, hurried to put their helmets back on. I waved at them, glad to see how refreshed they looked. They trailed me as I walked back to the castle. I remembered that from my perch in the tree, oh my god, I can't read. I remembered
take your time.
that from my perch in the tree, it had looked as though the girl had been talking to herself. And I realized then that while I'd spent countless hours talking to myself in the tower, I hadn't done it once since I arrived home. It had been weirdly familiar to see the girl doing that. Does everyone talk to themselves, I wondered, even when they live with lots of other people around them? I had just turned into the main hall when I saw my mother walking towards me. Hello, sweetheart, she said, beaming as she approached me. Hi, Mom. I was still getting used to the word mom. It tasted sweet yet unfamiliar in my mouth. How was your afternoon? Did you enjoy the etiquette class? I'm doing my best, I said. That's all I can ask, Mom said. She placed an arm around me, and even though she smelled lovely, like jasmine and lavender, I wondered if she felt as awkward as I did. We were going to keep walking like this, and with her hand on my waist. No, I wondered if we were going to keep walking like this with her hand on my waist, or if I was supposed to wrap my arm around her too. I paused, trying to figure out what to do. Just as I was about to go for a full hug, she took a step forward, and we banged heads. Oops, sorry, I said. It's fine, Mom said, rubbing her forehead. Are you all right? I nodded. She gestured down the hallway, and we started to walk toward my room. Tell me, what did you learn? Well, I learned how to sit down, close the door, and drink tea. That's a lot for one day, Mom said. I scanned her face to see if she was joking, but I couldn't tell. She just smiled at me. You know you can ask me anything, right? Okay, I said. Why do I have to learn all these things, all these rules? Can't I just be myself? Of course, Mom said. Her long dress swished as we turned a corner, passing a huge portrait of one of my ancestors. He appeared to be scowling at me. Maybe if some more cheerful art filled these halls, this place would feel more like home. I debated bringing up this idea of painting murals for the walls of my parents at dinner. We just want you to feel comfortable in the court, Mom continued. After all, you're going to be queen someday. You need to know the customs. I felt dizzy. How was I going to rule a kingdom if I couldn't even master the 7 steps of the curtsy? What's this, Mom asked, pointing to the cannonball thing under my arm. Actually, I was going to ask you the same question. It's a shot putting, the sport and military training exercise. Where did you get it? I found it in one of the outer gardens, I said. How unusual. It was just lying around? No, I was up in a tree and I saw this girl who looked like she was practicing with it. And then she threw it. I mean, wow, she threw it so far. She's so strong. A smile spread across my mom's lips. Do you know her? Cassandra, my mom said with a nod. Cassandra, I repeated. It suited her. She's the daughter of the captain of the guard, my mom said, her face brightening. She's such a unique spirit. Brave, loyal, extremely knowledgeable. Do you know where I can find her to return this? I asked. Yes, in the East Wing. When you return it, why don't you invite her for dinner tomorrow? Mom asked. For the feast. I'd love that, I said. And Rapunzel, I know you need to be comfortable, but where are your shoes? I looked down at my bare feet and wiggled my toes on the tile floor. I had a sinking feeling that I had just doubled the number of etiquette lessons in my future. I think I left them outside. Shoes aren't a priority right now, Mom said with a smile. But please, bring them in before sundown. I think we need to find you a lady in waiting sooner rather than later.
Where could she be? Chapter 4, Cassandra. Unique spirit, that's what they're calling lesbians these days. Yep.
Yeah.
Ariana knows. Chapter 4, Cassandra.
Happy.
I returned to my room immediately, hoping Pascal... I returned to my room immediately, hoping that I wasn't going to get in trouble. Not only had I been caught practicing my shot put skills when I was supposed to be crocheting appliques or something equally torturous, but I'd been seen by the princess herself. What if I'd scared her? What if she thought I was attacking her? No one had come looking for me yet, but I had to play it safe. Regardless, whatever guards were supposed to be watching her had really fallen down on the job. I thought I'd better lay low until I was sure she wasn't going to make a big deal about this. Then I saw the note on my desk from my father. Freedboard reported that you missed your afternoon duties again. Please be advised that this is unacceptable. The queen is looking for a lady-in-waiting to serve Princess Rapunzel. It would be a great opportunity for you, and you must show the queen how prepared you are to train her in the ways of the court. I crumpled the note and threw it to the ground. A lady-in-waiting? Me? Ha! Ladies don't wield weapons, lead military strategy meetings, or race on horseback. Ladies do needlework, flower arranging, and hairstyling. My father knew that, and yet he wanted it for me? A ripple of anger went through me. I had no intention of babysitting a princess. Luckily, I wasn't exactly an active member of the tapestry weaving club. Sorry, Dad, I thought. Keep dreaming. I opened my weapons closet to hang my sword. I followed the handbook of the guards to the letter, so my materials were always in perfect order. The pocket where I stored my shot was empty. Ugh. I needed to retrieve it, but not until after dark. For now, I was going to focus on finding a new place to train. How annoying. That remote field had been ideal. It was flat, spacious, and hidden, well, except for when there was someone in a tree. I opened the secret drawer inside my closet and pulled out the maps of the kingdom I've been working on ever since I was little. Corona was huge and held enough secrets to keep a map maker busy for a lifetime, unless that map maker was me. I was planning on having this land charted in the next year. Except for a few blank spaces and some unknown spots, I was close to having the most comprehensive and detailed maps of all time. Closer than anyone else had ever come to knowing the far reaches and concealed treasures of this land. But close wasn't good enough for me. As part of my mission to be a guard, I was going to complete my maps and present them to my father. I had already included most of the tunnels, which created an elaborate underground system of pathways. There were the ones built by Hertz der Sohn for the War of Unification, and they were well documented. They'd been used for military procedures only a few hundred years ago, but there were also ancient caves dating back thousands of years, and they were way more obscure. Just the previous night, I'd read about the faraway land of Yoltador, which had once been a thriving trade city. A few of its caves had collapsed during a great flood, creating mysterious pools in the middle of the country. No one even knew about them until foreign invaders used them as hideouts from which they launched attacks. I couldn't help wondering if Corona had any pools like that. After all, we'd had great floods before. They'd been written about in history books. Our terrain was similar to Yoltador's. I would not rest until I scoured the entire kingdom. My maps would truly give Corona the power to protect itself against any intruders. I was just about to unroll one of the parchments on the table when there was a knock on the door. 1 second, I said. I placed the map under my bed, thinking it would be my father ready to lecture me. But when I opened the door, my eyes went wide. It was the princess, smiling at me like I was holding a birthday cake. I avoided her for a whole week, but now I couldn't seem to get away from her. I followed her eyes to the floor. The map had rolled out from under my bed, and I towed it back under. "Can I help you?" I asked. "Hi," she said. Her enthusiasm was so shiny and bright I had to squint. I'm Rapunzel. I know, I said. I have your ball thingy, she said, holding up my shot. Thanks, I said, taking it. Hello, someone else said, and then her pretty boy, Eugene, peeked around the corner. Here you got a strong arm. And I hear you have sticky fingers, I said. No one seemed to care that one of the most wanted thieves in Corona was living inside the castle. I did. She got you, Eugene, Rapunzel said with a laugh, and then she turned that high noon smile back on me. I haven't met anyone yet who has comebacks quick enough for him. And trust me, I've met a lot of people in the past week. Let's not get carried away, Eugene said. I don't know if one quip qualifies as keeping up with me. I arched an eyebrow and he winked. Ugh, who winks? Thanks for this, I said to Rapunzel. I was about to close the door when she ducked her head inside and stepped over the threshold into my room. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. Can you tell me what you were doing with that shot, right? Rapunzel asked. The thief tried to follow her inside, but I blocked the doorway. Was it a game? Are you on a team? I play individual sports, I said. Like running? She asked. Because I love to run too. Oh, I said. I let the silence get awkward. Maybe then she'd get the hint. Anyway, Rapunzel said, I came by to invite you to dinner tomorrow night for the feast of Elodie the Great. Thanks, but I'm busy, I said. My father and I... Guess what? I already checked with him, Rapunzel said, and he thought it was a great idea. You what? I asked. This girl had nerve, seeking my father's approval without even knowing if I wanted to go or not. I asked your father if you two would join us for the feast. And I figured since our families work so closely together, it would be nice if we were with each other for a feast day, Rapunzel said. I swallowed hard. She tilted her head. Will you sit next to me? Hey, that's my seat, Eugene said. Eugene, there's a seat on either side of me, remember? Rapunzel said. I sit wherever I'm assigned, I said. Then I'll make sure you're assigned to sit next to me, she said. Thanks. A soldier knows when to make a tactical surrender. Any more resistance, and I draw attention to myself. I'll see you tomorrow night, princess. Please, just call me Rapunzel, she said, touching my arm. I flinched. Okay, I said. Rapunzel. Bye, she said with a little wave. Goodbye. They left, and I shut the door. And then I locked it. Bye. Bye. Lock, bolt. Don't come back. Bye.
All right. Chapter 5. Cinco, as kids say.
Cinco.
Is it just me, or did the temperature in Corona just plunge to Arctic levels? Oh, wait, shit. Oh, fuck.
You're not supposed to say. Well, now we gotta censor that. We were good for 20 minutes. It's okay.
Chapter 5. That was Eugene talking. That's
yes,
why.
Yeah, that was Eugene.
Is it just me, or did the temperature in Corona just plunge to Arctic levels? Eugene said when we left Cassandra's room and walked down the long hallway. He was taking me to what was going to be one of my new favorite places. What do you mean? I asked.
Wait, the room?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What do you mean? I asked. Cassandra is as cold as ice, Eugene said, as in a little rude. What do you think? What did she do that makes you say that? I asked. After all, Freeborg wasn't exactly a chatterbox. Maybe
Reticence.
Maybe reticence. That's a new word. Maybe reticence was just a Cronin way.
A couple new words there.
To me, she seemed cautious and maybe a little reserved, but this determination and that spark had propelled the shot she'd thrown. And it made me want to learn what she knew about the kingdom. She's just lacking basic friendliness, Eugene said, taking my hand as we walked past the throne room and turned down a hallway I hadn't noticed before. You know, like, hi, nice to meet you. You don't seem like a cold-blooded criminal, so I'll treat you like a normal person. That kind of thing. Maybe she just takes a little warming up to. Don't forget, I hit you with a frying pan the first time I met you. True, Eugene said, opening a heavy wooden door. But that was different. Wait, I said, gasping as I took in the room around me, with its high ceilings, tall windows, and walls of books. These are all books? That's right, Eugene said. It's called the library. This is Beauty and the Beast. Library, I repeated as I stepped inside.
Yeah, right?
Library, library, library. The word itself sounded magical.
Library.
It sounded like it could be the name of a constellation, or a butterfly with bright wings, or a concert of bells. Library. I loved it. How did it take me a week to find this place? I wondered aloud as I climbed a ladder to reach the highest shelf. Somehow the library was in the middle of my list of things to show you, after the ballrooms, the gardens, the spa, but before the buttery and the laundry vats. Anyway, you're here now, right? Eugene asked. Do I still get points for showing you this? Yes, I said, a hand to my chest. 1,000,000. And I don't know where to start. You can take these books back to your room if you want, Eugene said. I can? I think I'll open a window, Eugene said. It's a little musty in here. I love it, I said, marveling. I used to think there were only 3 books in the entire world. One about cooking, one about geology, and one about botany. I read them over and over again until I pretty much memorized them. I was ready for more, but I hadn't been expecting this. To be surrounded by this many books was like discovering there were hundreds of other moons just hiding somewhere in the sky. There's so many to choose from, I said as I climbed another ladder. Seriously, where am I going to begin? Let's let fate decide. Hold on, Eugene said, and before I knew it, the ladder was flying across the room. Woohoo! I laughed, the spines becoming a blur until I grabbed the shelf labeled Adventure and brought myself to a halt. Now that's more like it. I bet the Flynn Rider books are even in there, Eugene said, grinning from ear to ear. Flynn Rider was the brave and daring fictional character whom Eugene loved so much as a kid that he actually called himself Flynn Rider until we met. I had convinced him that his true name, Eugene Fitzherbert, was an originality and an integrity all its own. Do you see them, Rapunzel? Here, I said, plucking Flynn Rider, Volume 1 from the shelf and handing it down to him. I pulled another adventure book, Elena Evangelo, Queen of the Desert Land, down for myself and started a pile. Ah, brings back memories, Eugene said, as he settled into the chair by a window and propped up his feet on an ottoman. I continued to search. I wanted to know more about stars, so I took several of the astronomy section. And of course, there were books about the great heroes of Corona. And I needed a bunch of books about Corona and flora and fauna. I wanted to know what I was looking at while I explored. And then there were the cookbooks with so many recipes I'd never even dreamed of. Raspberry tart, ginger pound cake with peach sugar glaze, honeydew ice cream with rosemary syrup. My mouth was watering as I added 6 cookbooks to my pile. The mathematics section was next. The books were filled with information about lines, shapes, angles, and something called three-dimensional polyhedra. What was that? I needed to know. My head spun as I scanned the chapters covering fractions, ratios. As an artist, I need to understand all of this, I thought, especially if I wanted to do more perspective, not to mention sculpture. I pulled out my favorites and added them to the stack. Eugene, there's an art section, I said when I discovered it, my heart just about leaping out of my chest. I turned to him, but his eyes were closed, and he was gently snoring. He had a big smile on his face, and I imagined that's what he looked like as a little kid dreaming about Flynn Rider. I let him take his nap. I was going to be here for a while. I sat down on the floor, made myself comfortable, and pored over the books for hours. The volumes are big, heavy, and colorful, and with glossy pages that I wanted to hang on the walls of my new room. I always thought the art of something that was experienced rather than studied. But in front of me, there are at least 100 books about color and technique and the history of the greatest artists of all time. Drawing with ink, sketching with charcoal, painting landscapes, still lifes, and portraits, ceramics, weaving, crafts. My stack of books was as tall as I was. When I saw that the sun was beginning to set behind the windows, I knew it was time to meet my parents for dinner. Before I woke Eugene, I decided to pick out a book for Cassandra. I could give it to her the next day.
What?
I looked for something about sports for her, individual sports. I spotted a book called Field Sports, The Complete Guide. It covered the history of field sports, technical instruction, and strategy, and it had detailed illustrations. I was about to add it to my pile when I noticed there was another book behind it. It looked like it had fallen there by accident. It was thin and a little smaller than the other books, but it was eye-catching because of its faded green leather cover and the gold edging of its pages. I opened it and coughed at the dust that floated from inside. The title was printed in thick black ink with gold flecks. The Lost Lagoon. I turned another page to discover it was a book of poems. It had nothing to do with sports. It had obviously slipped into the wrong section, or perhaps it had been hidden. The first poem was called The Lost Lagoon, just like the title of the book. Half of it was written in English. The other half was in a language I didn't recognize. I spoke the words aloud, and they made some kind of music. When on a winter eve we met, our truth was but a glimmer. The moon shone extra bright. Fortune far beneath did shimmer. Maybe this book would inspire a new work of art. I didn't know what form it would take, but the mystery of the creative process was part of what made me love art so much. The sun was dipping below the hills, and the sky turned from orange to indigo. I gripped the book in my warm hands as a cold breeze billowed the drapes. It was time to go, but this book was coming with me. Eugene, we should go to dinner, I said, sitting behind him and gently shaking him awake. Wow, that's a lot of books you picked out, he said, as he sat up and rubbed his eyes. You realize we have the rest of our lives to use this library, right? Yes, but I didn't know. I don't know. One book just kind of led to another, you know? Maybe you'll need some bookshelves in your own room, Eugene said. Like my own private library? I asked. Exactly. We'll talk to the royal carpenter about it. But for now, maybe let's just take your top 10. 11, I said, tucking the small green book in my pocket. Later that night, after dinner with my parents and a stroll with Eugene in the gardens to retrieve my shoes, I settled into my bed with the poetry book. I had just opened it when my mom knocked on the door. Sweetheart, Mom said, poking her head in. Are you awake? Yes, I said. Instinctively, I tucked the book inside my covers, though I'm not sure why. I just wasn't ready to share it. My mother entered my room, beamed at me, and sat down next to me on my bed. She took my hand in hers. Darling, the time has come for me to assign your lady-in-waiting. Already? I asked, sitting up a little straighter. I mean, I know I had a rough day today, but I can try harder. A lady-in-waiting isn't just someone who helps you, Mom explained. She's a constant companion. But I have Pascal for that, I said. Pascal smiled at my mom from a nearby ottoman. Truthfully, I wasn't sure what I would do with a constant human companion. I was pretty good at entertaining myself. I know, Mom said. But you have an awful lot of occasions coming up. You're a princess now. I really think you'll need someone to help you navigate these sometimes tedious but necessary ceremonies. And to be your friend and confidant. I know I can handle it, Mom, I said. You have a responsibility, Rapunzel, Mom said, to this kingdom. And as much as I love Pascal, you need a guide. I felt her words like a weight. I wasn't ready to hear about responsibility. I was just learning to live in more than one room. And yet her eyes were full of kindness and truth. The entire kingdom has been awaiting your return, Rapunzel. Do you understand? I think so, I said. Good. I've decided to appoint Cassandra, Mom said. The captain's daughter? I asked, though I doubted there could be two Cassandras in the same kingdom. At least, not if one of them was the girl I met today. Mom nodded with an easy smile. Okay, I said. I remembered the strength of Cassandra's throat and the fire in her eyes. Maybe having a lady-in-waiting wouldn't be as bad. Wouldn't be so bad if it was her. Okay. Cassandra is a wise and brave girl, Mom said. She knows the way of the castle and how this kingdom works. I can see that, I said. I know you do, Mom said. Cassandra is my lady-in-waiting, I said, smiling to myself as I imagined her teaching me how to throw a shot or how to handle a sword. Perfect, Mom said. Yay, I said. You can announce tomorrow at dinner, she said, kissing my cheek. Until then, it's our secret. After she left, I pulled the book out from under my covers and tried to read the next poem. The words were foreign, but I decided to speak them aloud anyway. And as I did, they made some kind of music again. When I closed my eyes, I wondered what it would be like for Cassandra to be my lady-in-waiting. Would she teach me her warrior moves? Would she tell me everything she knew about Corona? Would she eventually be a little friendlier? I took several deep breaths, and at last I drifted to sleep. That night I dreamed of water and of the secret that swam like a silver fish inside of it.
Ooh. 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 Yeah, Ariana gets it. Fellas. Ariana's like,
Yeah.
she's the one that put them together. Best Mom Award. Happy Mother's Day to Queen Ariana only. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Cassandra. There you are, Queen Ariana said as I tried to slip into the dining room unnoticed. I never felt at home in ladies' gowns. Whenever I donned layers of tulle and silk, especially with my hair pulled back into a bun, I felt like I was playing dress-up. Good evening, I said and curtsied. I saw you riding Fidela this afternoon, she said. Fidela was one of the great horses of the kingdom. Strong, fast, and highly intelligent. She was matched only by Maximus, a regal and handsome stallion. They were the horses I loved to ride most. She's an excellent horse, I said. I'd been up most of the night studying both my own hand-drawn maps and all of the other maps of Corona I'd collected over the years. It was time for me to get even more serious about filling in the blanks, not only so I could prove to my father how essential it was that I be in the guard, but also because the new princess was distracting Corona's line of defense. Others could take their eyes off the ball, not me. With Fidela, I was able to cover a lot of ground, but I hadn't found anything remarkable. I'd have to try again the next day. And you've become a skilled rider, Queen Ariana said. I'm impressed. I also know how dedicated you are to keeping Corona safe. I am, I said, chin up. I have some news tonight that I think will really please you, the Queen said. She winked at me and then went to greet the king. What is it with winking these days? I thought for a quick moment before another much more exciting idea popped into my mind. My father might not want to reward my training and military acumen, but that didn't mean the Queen didn't. I made sure your name card was next to mine, Rapunzel said as I approached the table. Great, I said, my mind still focused on the Queen's words. Was it possible that she would give me the chance to try out for the guard? I stared at the floor to discourage Rapunzel from trying to make any more conversation. That's when I noticed Rapunzel's feet were bare. Here, in the royal dining room, on the feast of Elodie the Great? What was she thinking? If there were to be an intruder, she couldn't run for cover fast enough with bare feet. What if she stepped on broken glass? The Queen would not regret putting me on the guard, I thought, though I had to admit that my own feet were throbbing in my formal shoes. I really hated heels. Hi there, sport, Eugene said, and clapped me on the shoulder. Ooh. The sound of his smooth voice made my blood turn to ice water. Don't call me that, I said. He was smiling at me, but I could tell he'd rather I get lost. I got lost. Yes, too bad. I was onto him. If he had any plans to run off with the crown jewels, he could forget about them. I was watching. Nice to see you too, Eugene said. Hey, have you ever been to the library? Rapunzel asked. No, I said. Everyone was getting settled and chatting, but I wanted the feast to get underway. My palms were sweating. When was the Queen going to make her announcement? I love it, Rapunzel said. I was there yesterday for hours, and I couldn't believe all the books. I found this one book of poems, and the cover is made of the softest leather, and half of the book is in a different language. It's charming and romantic and mysterious and complex, not into poetry, I said. But have you ever read a book about sports? Rapunzel asked. Huh? I said. She grinned as she handed me a book titled Field Sports, The Complete Guide. Thanks, I said, giving it a quick once-over and then placing it under the table. The Queen touched Rapunzel's shoulder and knelt beside her. So, Eugene said, distracting me, What's it like to be the daughter of the captain of the guard? You obviously have a thing for weapons. So, I said. Have you been training since you were a little kid? Eugene pressed on. Do you have friends in the castle? No, I said. Who needs friends? Jeez, Eugene muttered while Rapunzel whispered with the queen. I don't need just any icebreaker here. I need a pickaxe. I rolled my eyes. At last, the king tapped his glass. He and the queen stood up. The chatter quieted as we gave them our respect. We are all here now, King Frederick announced, lifting his chalice. Let us offer thanks for our bounty and wish one another peace. Everyone clinked their glasses and said, may we have peace. Clink, clink. I spoke the words along with everyone else, but deep inside, I just wanted to get to the point. I was joining the guard, right? The well wishes and peace offerings seemed to go on for an eternity. At last, Queen Ariana spoke. On this happy occasion, our family is delighted to make an announcement that I know will be nothing less than providential. Providential. The queen turned to me, and I sat up tall. My breath grew shallow in anticipation. Rapunzel, would you please do us the honor? Yes, Rapunzel said. The queen nodded and smiled. Why would Rapunzel announce my invitation to join the guard? She turned to me, and her face was suddenly way too close to mine. I pulled back. Cassandra, I'd like you to be my lady-in-waiting. What? I asked quietly. For a moment, the world blurred, and there was a buzzing in my ears. Had I really heard that? Was it true? This couldn't be real. You're my lady-in-waiting. Isn't it wonderful? Rapunzel asked. Everyone around the table was clapping, my father loudest of all. The only one who wasn't grinning like an idiot was Eugene. Cassandra, what an honor, my father said. I reached for my chalice of water. My mouth was totally dry. Congratulations. This is a most fortuitous union, Queen Ariana said. I couldn't form a response. You can begin your duties tomorrow, though really your first job will be to get to know our dear Rapunzel. May I be excused for a moment? I asked. I walked out of the room, sucking air so I wouldn't scream, and then ran down the hallway, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Move it, I said to the guards in front of the eastern door. They looked at me quizzically, like I wasn't making sense. I said, move it! They jumped aside. I banged out the door, tore off my horrible shoes, and ran toward the forest. My stomach twisted, my heart thudded, my thoughts raced. I slowed when I reached the thicket, caught my breath, and leaned against the trunk of a giant oak. How could the queen think this was the best use of my talents? She had just praised my riding ability, and I thought my promise as a defender of the kingdom. My father must have known this was coming. He more than anyone knew I wasn't cut out to sew buttons on dresses or teach manners. And yet here I was, doomed to babysit the world's peppiest princess. How was I going to train? How was I going to live the life I was born to live? Fury heated my blood as I stared down the moon. My pet owl, whom I simply called Owl, swooped down from above. No matter where he was, he could always sense my distress and would fly to my side as quickly as possible. There's nothing I can do, I said to him. He circled the trees above, hooting. This was a decision that had bars around it. I couldn't protest without falling out of favor with the king and queen, and then there would be no way I'd ever be allowed in the guard. I couldn't argue my way out of this with my father. A royal assignment was the final word. My fate had been sealed. I fell to my knees and stifled a scream.
A little dramatic, I think.
A little dramatic. Just a little dramatic. We're at 53. Let's see if do we have enough time for one more? That's kind of a good way to end, though.
Yeah. How does it end here?
This is, are you sure? Yep.
I think we can go for one more.
One more? Okay, yeah, because we have 6 minutes left. Okay, so one more chapter. Oh, Cass. You know, when I get bad news, I too run into the forest and
Scream.
and fall to my knees and talk to wildlife and scream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cass the drama queen.
Yeah.
Yep, that's you.
Yeah, from the get-go. I mean, that makes season 3 make a lot more sense.
What?
I'm sorry, what? Who?
There's a season 3
No.
of the show?
Uh-uh.
I didn't think so. All right. Chapter 7.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel.
Rapretzel.
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 Are you sure this is the right move? Eugene asked me as I tidied my room in anticipation for Cassandra's arrival.
Ooh.
I wanted everything to be perfect for our first official princess and lady-in-waiting get-together. It was the evening after the feast, and I made cinnamon cookies from a recipe in one of the Coronan cookbooks I'd found in the library. There was a whole stack waiting for her, along with a pot of piping hot peppermint tea. Are you sure Cassandra is the right girl for the job? Eugene asked. Of course, I said, turning to face Eugene, who was lounging on the daybed eating a cookie. His brow furrowed. I put a hand on my hip. Why? Are you worried? I've never been so sure, except about you. He glanced up and smiled, color filling his cheeks. Aw, thanks, he said. It's just that Cassandra's a little stiff. Tougher than bison jerky, to be specific. Don't you think? I prefer the word strong, I said, fluffing the pillows on my bed. She thinks she knows everything, Eugene said. Confidence is always appealing, I said, straightening the blankets. She's impossible to have a conversation with. More like contemplative. Look, I said, stacking my books from the library into neat piles. Let me tell you what I see in her. I see a great adventurer, a girl who isn't afraid to explore and try new things. And insults, Eugene said. She was just teasing you, I said, taking a seat next to him. Maybe you two are too much alike. You love to tease too. Ugh, Eugene said. I just get the feeling she doesn't like me. Who couldn't like you, I said, brushing his hair out of his eyes. Again, he blushed, and it filled me with affection. I think you both just need some time to get to know each other. You're amazing. She's amazing. I mean, did you happen to see that map she rolled up so quickly when we knocked on her door? Eugene shook his head. It was all kinds of amazing. You're the amazing one, Eugene said, staring at me with adoration. Just then, there was a tap on the door. Knock, knock, knock. Oh, that's her, I said, clapping my hands. Eugene, I adore you, but I think you should leave. Really? He asked. But what about our nightly stroll? Cassandra knocked again. Knock, knock, knock. 1 second, I called, and then I took Eugene's hands in mine. I think it's better if my first meeting of Cassandra is just the two of us. It doesn't mean that she's more important than you, or that we won't be taking any more evening strolls, okay? Okay, Eugene said. I guess I just have some diplomacy reading to catch up on. Your father wants me to be versed in the ways of the court as quickly as possible, and my energy is flagging, so I'll take one of the treats for the road. I handed him a cookie, gave him a squeeze, and then opened the door. When Cassandra saw him, her face clouded over like a stormy afternoon. I'm just on my way out, Eugene said, and shot me a I told you so kind of look. Have fun, ladies. Hello, I said, giving Cassandra my warmest smile. Hey, she said, straight-faced. Welcome, Lou. Get it? Lady in waiting? Lou, can I call you that? No. Okay, I said, shaking it off. Look, I have cookies and teas for us. I offered her a seat in one of the plush chairs. Thanks, I don't eat sweets. I honestly think you're going to love these cookies, I said. I made them from this Coronan cookbook. It says they're a classic crowd pleaser. Fine, Cassandra said, and even though she was trying to hide it, I think she kind of liked the cookie. I just want to start by saying I'm so excited. When I saw you out there in that field, I just had to get to know you. And when my mom suggested that you be my lady in waiting, it felt so right. Do you know what that's like? When something just feels right? Cassandra stared, taking another cookie. Anyway, according to this book, a lady in waiting's duties include teaching me manners, languages, and dances prevalent at court, reading and compromising, correspondence, though honestly, I don't know who's going to write me a letter. Painting, which I love with my whole heart, horseback riding, sign me up, music, and participation in other queenly pastimes. There's also the care of my wardrobe. I'm not too into clothes, so let's not worry about that. Supervision of servants, keeping me informed about everything that's happening at court, and discreetly relaying messages upon command. But I'm not exactly the type to give commands. I guess you could say we have a lot of work ahead of us. Cassandra had placed the cookie on her lap and was growing paler by the second. You know what? I said. She seemed as overwhelmed as I was by the castle business. Let's change the subject. This is the book I was telling you about. I picked up the small green book and opened it to the first poem, The Lost Lagoon. It's in 2 languages, so I don't understand every word, but the first part is all about this ancient power. Then the poet writes about these ancient caves, and the rain opened up of a million tiny kisses. Isn't that beautiful? Ancient caves? Cassandra asked, her eyes growing wide. I'll read it to you, I said. Here goes, The Lost Lagoon. When on a winter eve we met, our truth was but a glimmer. The moon shone extra bright, fortune far beneath did shimmer. Here was Corona built, amidst ebbing fear and flowing doubt. When voices clash and metal strikes, the light within taps out. Ancient clay caves collapse, their ceilings filled with swaths of sky. Beneath pooled the water dear, we entered it with a lack of fear. Truth has sealed in precious stones, they hold the ancient power that underlies Corona's strength and binds us like sun to flower. Precious stones? Ancient power? Cassandra asked, leaning in. See, I knew you'd like poetry. Don't you just love the imagery? Keep reading, she said. There's something in another language. That's Saporian? That's Saporian, Cassandra said, startling me with her enthusiasm. She was standing behind me now, reading over my shoulder. This book is really old. What do you mean? I asked. Wait, how do you know? Hundreds of years old. Hundreds of years ago, Corona was 2 different lands, Old Corona and Saporia. The fact that this is written half in Saporian means that this book is genuinely ancient. No one speaks Saporian anymore, except a few scholars. Really? I asked, intrigued. I'd like to know more about the history of Corona. Can you teach me that? The kingdom's blacksmith, Xavier, is a real historian. He knows everything, Cassandra said. Do you think he could give me lessons? I asked. My pulse sped up as I realized there was so much to find out about my new home. Maybe by learning about it, I would somehow become more a part of this place. Probably, Cassandra said. Keep reading. Okay, I said. Cassandra paced as I read. Where the 2 oaks grow close, roots weave like fingers, hands clasped together. In spaces between, truth doth linger. I just love that line, I said, a hand to my heart. Continue, she said. Berries shine and dew like rubies. Outstretched arms guide seekers west. 3 divisions bring 3 decisions. Remember, hearts know best. Moonstone, topaz, opal, and the emerald tapestry does unfold. Tread lightly to the Lost Lagoon, holding treasures vast, untold. Then it goes more in what I guess is Saporian, I said. Doesn't it feel so alive? Do you think it's real? Cassandra grabbed the book in her hands and flipped through the pages. I sat up a little straighter. Hey, maybe we could start a literature circle. I took in her wide eyes. Wait a second. Do you know something about this place? No, she said, fixated on the text. Is there anything else about caves? Does this have anything to do with those maps? I asked. What maps? She asked, continuing to read. The ones I saw in your room. Her head snapped up. Cassandra, what is it? Nothing. I'm just a little tired. You don't look tired. I am. What do you say we call it a night? Really? Now? Yeah, now. She yawned, but it wasn't very convincing. Well, I guess I am kind of a morning person, I said as she nodded and tucked the book in her pocket. So, do you want to borrow that? Yep, she said. And before I could hug her goodbye, she was out the door, clutching the book.
Yep. Tired. Yep. Yep. Bye. All right, we are at an hour. So we just that was the end of chapter 7 of Rapunzel and the Lost Lagoon. We are on page 58.
Mm-hmm.
You have the physical book with you. But I think we're going to call it there for now, right?
Depends.
Oh.
I mean, I could read a little bit more.
Yeah, I thought we were doing it.
Yeah.
Or not?
Up to you.
Oh, okay. Is it good here?
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, then I guess we can keep going if people want that. Yeah. Oh, we have. Yeah, there's quite a few people here actually. Well, when does the second part? Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Well, hang on, folks. The interlude. We might as well read to the interlude because then it's part 2. Okay. Well, then we'll keep going. Yeah. If YouTube lets us, we will keep going.
Yeah, I think the live is good for several hours.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think so.
La 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 la. All right, so we're just gonna keep going then, because there's a split that happens here, which everyone will be very aware. Cassandra will. It's the Sephorian lost princess. Yeah, I mean, I had some tea. Yes, thank you, some tea.
We made iced tea.
I made iced tea for the occasion. I had some theories that I think, would have been interesting, but we're not going to spoil that because this is a spoiler-free zone right now.
Was Sapporo ever mentioned in the show?
I thought the Sephorian stuff, wasn't that with old Corona?
Was it? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I think it was though, right? Because we were like, oh yeah, or no.
I don't know.
Am I nuts?
Help.
Andrew. Yeah, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that it was early on because it tied in. Right. Thank you. Andrew. The Sephorians were in under wraps. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because then in Rapunzel's Return, they wanted to bring back with the fake goatee.
Right.
The goatee was so distracting that I actually didn't absorb any of the history.
Yeah.
Not
until, who did that? Was it Lance?
It was Lance. He went, the best.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So Andrew was all into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a memory.
We have, there's a lot happened.
A lot happened.
Very end, yes. Okay, yes. It's all coming back now. So yeah, Sapporo. Wait, well, is it Sapporo? Is it Sapporo? It's Sapporian. But is it Sapporia? It must be Sapporia.
Corona.
Sapporo.
Bud Light. Kingdom of Bud Light.
Anyway, okay, we're gonna keep on going, folks. We're having a great time. So, how's that lighting? That you look pale. It's good. It's fine. Anyway, Chapter 8. We are on page 58. Ocho. Cassandra. Oh right, she just took the book. See, I took the book. Yep. Yep. Okay, keep on going. I ran back to my room, lit my lantern, and unrolled my maps. I'd seen enough ancient documents to know that this book was from several hundred years ago. I had mapped the old-growth trees and knew there was a pair of twin oaks a few miles to the west. I compared the poem's description of how to get to this lagoon with my own drawings. As soon as I finished mapping a path, I'd set out, alone. If there was a hidden source of power in Corona and I found it, I'd have the leverage I needed to get into the guard. Forget about the winged beast and the maps. I'd be undeniable. After staying up most of the night, I charted what I thought was a likely route. Then I folded it in my pocket and set out before dawn. A night of princess sitting hadn't turned out to be such a royal waste of time after all. The air was crisp, like a fresh piece of paper, and I felt alert despite my lack of sleep. My blood was warm as it galloped through my veins. Okay. There was nothing I loved more than being out on an adventure. Best of all, the Twin Oaks were in a rural part of Corona, and the guards weren't focused on at all. I saw a few red foxes, watchful and curious. My breath puffed white as I studied my compass and headed west. I must have walked for at least an hour, pausing only to drink from a brook. A few times I thought I heard some rustling behind me, but I kept going. At last I found the pair of oak trees, surrounded by berry bushes, as described in the poem. Berries shine in like... I can't read. Berries shine in dew like rubies. Outstretched arms guide seekers west. I followed the tree's roots and found a boulder. I scaled the boulder and discovered a path behind it. It was overgrown and barely visible, but with my compass, I found enough markers to assure me I was onto something. Then the path divided into 3 junctures. 3 divisions bring 3 decisions. Remember, heart knows best. I repeated the line in my head. realizing that hearts know best had to be a clue. It was too sappy, even for a bad poet. The heart is on the left side of the body, so it had to be directing me that way. I decided to stay left. At last, the path became clearer. The grass was green as emeralds, just as the poem said. I followed it until I came to another boulder. I've always been a good climber, so the steep incline didn't scare me, though it was more difficult than I'd imagined. It was going to be harder to get down. I was glad I brought a rope. I could hitch it to the ledge and then use that to get down. At the top, the boulder unexpectedly split, creating two walls with water running in between them. There had been no mention of this in the poem. It was impossible to tell how deep the water was, and a ripple of fear went through me. Ugh, I growled with frustration as sweat stung my eyes. Don't be a wimp, I told myself as my arms and legs shook. Pretend you don't feel it. Elsa.
Conceal, don't feel.
Conceal, don't feel. I could see that on the other side of the gulch, the walls connected again, and I would be able to walk to the lagoon, which I imagined was even bluer than the water that flowed beneath me. The rocks were too far apart for me to walk with a leg on either side, but if I stretched my body across the gap, I could hold on one side with my hands, bracing my feet on the other side. It was my only option, and I had come so far. I wasn't going to turn back without at least trying. I put my hands on one ledge and placed my feet on the other side, and I began to traverse the gulch. Below me, water rushed over rocks. My arms began to tremble and my legs ached. I froze. A lump began to rise in my throat. Slide down. Was that Rapunzel's voice? No. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. I glanced up, and Rapunzel was there, standing at the top of the boulder. What are you doing here? I asked, squeezing my eyes shut. If I couldn't see the water, maybe I could overcome this stupid fear. Looking for the lagoon with you. Don't you see? This is exactly the kind of thing I was hoping would happen when you became my lady-in-waiting, she said. I gnashed my teeth, my arms shaking with fatigue as she joined me, assuming the same position. Her proximity made me sweat even more. This is so uncomfortable, Rapunzel said, turning to face me with an improbable and unwelcome grin. I'm going down there. It'll be so much easier to walk through the water than scale this ravine. Come on. You first, I said. My left hand slipped and I almost cried out. Okay, she said. I heard a splash. Wow, that's chilly. And yeah, we can walk. It's only waist deep. Come on, I'll catch you. Only waist deep, I told myself as my cramping feet began to pulse with pain. I had no choice. I closed my eyes and let go.
Splash.
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 Splash. I was deep.
Chapter 9.
Ow.
I caught Cassandra and helped steady her on her feet. You were pretty scared up there, huh? I said. Her straight line of the mouth let me know she was mad that I'd followed her. But her eyes were wide and vulnerable. Not at all, she said, refusing to meet my gaze. So I was right, I said, walking through the cold, clear water. You thought the lagoon was a real place, too. I knew it. And those were maps in your room, weren't they? Yes, Cassandra said, walking behind me. I just wanted to make sure it was safe before you came here with me. I appreciate that. But what you need to know about me is that I love adventure. I was in a tower for 18 years, so I really want to see the world. You should go home, she said. Now. No way. I feel more at home exploring the kingdom than learning etiquette. Doesn't matter, she said. It's not safe, but it's fun. Does anyone know where you are? Cassandra asked. Did you tell Eugene? Her eyes narrowed. No, I hadn't seen Eugene since the night before. After Cassandra left my room, I sent Pascal to follow her. Instructed him to come get me if she went anywhere. Why can't we let anyone know, though? About the ancient secret power of the kingdom, she asked. Yeah, I said. Why shouldn't my family know about it? If this information got in the wrong hands, there could be real trouble. What kind of trouble? I want to know. I need to know. I said. Then I saw it. We saw it. We gasped. Whoa, it's the Lost Lagoon. A lone bird sang an elaborate tune. It's so blue, Cassandra said. The sun was shining on the water in a dazzling display of light. A school of yellow fish slid beneath the surface, sun dancing on their fins. In another corner, bright orange starfish clung to rocks. The walls surrounding the lagoon were covered in bright green moss. Have you ever seen someplace so beautiful? I asked. Cassandra shook her head. The crystal blue beckoned me. I can't take it, I said, unable to contain my awe. I'm diving in. I stripped down to my camisole and bloomers and leapt in, allowing myself to sink before I swam back up toward the cool light. The clear water encircled me like an embrace. Cassandra, you have to come in here. I can't, she said. Yes, you can. Just jump. No, she said, her brow furrowed. Why not? I asked. I ducked under the water, gulped a mouthful, and resurfaced as a fountain. Because, she said, crossing her arms. Because what? I asked. Ugh, she grunted. Where is the secret power? It's in here somewhere, I said. This wasn't just water. It was like water from a dream. Cool, soft, sweet. I turned a somersault, blew bubbles, and kicked up a splashy invitation. I bobbled back up. It feels so good. It isn't even that cold. You think I care about it being cold? She snapped. She turned away. I paused, treading water. Cassandra? You don't get it, Rapunzel, she said, throwing her arms up in the air. I can't swim. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I think it's almost chapter 10. Is it?
It's there.
It's there.
Mm-hmm. I'll go grab it.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
I'm gonna go do an errand. All right. Well, okay. I guess I'll read. Well, okay. Let me get all my friends here.
Be back in a jiffy.
Okay.
Jiffy pop.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Let me just. Rapunzel will be right back. And we're continuing on. Chapter 10, Cassandra. I can't swim, I said. Our kingdom was surrounded by water. There were 315 miles of ocean beach, 212 lakes, 121 ponds, 68 rivers, and 17 estuaries. And I couldn't swim. Why? Because of fear. Stupid fear. I hated admitting this to Rapunzel. A fear of water was ridiculous in Corona. And who was I kidding? This stupid phobia would keep me out of the guard. But the words had tumbled out of my mouth before I had the chance to stop them. Then I need to teach you, she said, beaming up at me. Huh? I asked. Why wasn't she laughing at me? Who in their right mind wouldn't think I was a total idiot for being a Coronan who didn't know how to swim? I don't get it. I'll teach you how to swim, she said, as though this were no big deal, as though I wouldn't be the laughingstock of the guard if my secret got out. She just swam in place and spoke in a plain, honest voice. I understand why it's scary, but I think you're going to love it. You do know that I just learned to sit, right? I stifled a grin. She ducked underwater and then resurfaced with her hair stuck to the front of her face. How do I look? Like a wet dog, I said, and she shook out her hair like a playful puppy. Can you imagine what that would have looked like before I cut my hair? She laughed and pushed her hair aside. Come on, it's shallow over there. She did another somersault and then swam to a ledge with steps leading down to the water. I walked around the edge until I got to the rock steps. It's perfect. You just need to come over and put your feet in. That's the first step. I climbed down to the ledge and was about to stick a foot in when Rapunzel said, Oh, and it's easier if you take off your boots. Have you ever taught anyone how to swim before? I asked her as I pulled off my boots. Nope, you're my first student, she grinned. I don't know if security briefed you, but I've been living in a tower for 18 years. So why should I trust you? I asked, dipping my bare toes into the water. Why shouldn't you? She said, looking genuinely confused. Have I done something to make you not trust me? No, I said. It was the truth. She smiled up at me, aglow in the bright sunshine. How did you learn how to swim? It's amazing how fast you can pick something up when your life depends on it. But I've taught myself a lot of stuff, and I've always said that the first step is the hardest. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Then I opened them and dipped my toes into the water. She was right. The water was perfect. Good, she said. Now take another step forward. I did. The water came up to my knees. This seems like a good enough start for today, doesn't it? I said. I'm done. No way, she said. We've barely started. So what I do when I'm scared is I think about my favorite recipe. I go through it step by step in as much detail as possible. I don't bake, I said. I know, she said. But maybe you could think about your favorite, I don't know, thing to throw. It has to be a procedure of some kind. Okay, I can tell you about the way to polish your armor, I said. Okay, sounds good. Each time you tell me a step, take a step forward. Well, first you hang your suit of armor up to make sure every piece is properly aligned, I said, and that there's no rust. Step forward, Rapunzel said. I took a deep breath and did so. I was up to my thighs now. Then you attach the foot coverings, I said, after inspecting them, of course. That makes sense, she said. Step forward. The water seeped up to my waist, and I kept thinking about my suit of armor, or the one I longed to have when I became a guard anyway. Then you need to polish the chest plate with a soft cloth, work in circles going outward. That sounds like a step, Rapunzel said. I ventured out farther, still picturing the armor in my mind. What's next? I closed my eyes. Then you work on the arms. The arms can be tricky because of the joints. Look where you are, Rapunzel said. I don't need to, I said, fearing I would lose my courage if I opened my eyes. I can feel that I'm in up to my neck. But I want you to watch my arms, she said. I opened my eyes. You're going to move them back and forth like this as you tell me about the next step in preparing armor for battle. I followed her lead with my arms and told her about polishing the helmet, making sure to include the details about the mouth cover. All right, she said, you're almost there. Next, you just move your legs as if you're running. I opened my mouth to speak, but she stopped me, saying, Cassandra, I'm right in front of you, and that rock is right behind you. You're an arm's length away from safety. So why don't you tell me about the next step after polishing the helmet, and then take your final step away from the rocks? The legs, I said, stepping into the open water while putting my hands back and forth. You have to get the thigh plates and the shins. For those you want to make up and down. Whoa, I'm doing it, I said. Rapunzel laughed. I'm doing it. Then I suddenly forgot what to do with my arms and they stopped working. My head went under, but before I could even shut my eyes, Rapunzel had swept me up and pulled me to the safety of the rock. You did it, she said. I went swimming. You're welcome, she said, even though I hadn't thanked her. That was just treading water. The next time we'll practice swimming. I really can't believe that you didn't know how. You're the bravest person I ever met. What are you talking about? I asked. Knowing how to swim in a seaside kingdom wasn't heroic, it was basic. You just faced your fear, she said. I waved her off, and she held my gaze. Why are you scared of water? It's nothing. Facing your biggest fear is nothing? She asked. You should be really proud. That and a coin will get me a cup of coffee, I said. It will? Rapunzel asked. It's a phrase, I said, taking in her puzzled expression. An idiom, you know? I don't, Rapunzel said, squinting into the early morning sun. Actually, there's so much I don't know. Sometimes it makes me dizzy. When I was 6, I almost drowned, I said. Her honesty had caught me off guard, and I just started talking. Well, that must have been terrifying, Rapunzel said. No wonder you're scared of the water. I'm alive, I shrugged, so who cares? Me, she said. Tell me what happened. I mean, if you want to. It's in the past, I said. For reasons I didn't understand, I did want to tell her, but I didn't trust that the lump in my throat wouldn't rise again. It's your story, Rapunzel said, and that's what makes it important. The memory hovered in my throat. We sat in silence for a few moments, staring at the water. Patches of shadows on the lagoon darkened and lightened. A breeze rustled the leaves. Birds warbled back and forth in conversation. I took a breath, and before I knew it, the story came out. I was at the seashore with my father. He told me 100 times to stay close to him, but I saw a crab I wanted to catch. I followed it. A wave snatched me up and carried me out. My father saved me. He was so mad, and I was scared twice that day. once by the water and once by my father's anger. I've never been able to get in the water since. But you did today, she said. Yeah. She hadn't laughed. She hadn't judged. As the sun climbed over a hill, the patches of shade dissolved. Right in front of us, beneath the surface, was a shining light so bright I had to squint. A cluster of tiny stones was lit up like blue flames. Or were they jewels? Was this the ancient power? Rapunzel gripped my hand, and this time I didn't flinch.
What? What? We got groceries.
Yep, the groceries came.
Our groceries came.
Thank you. Did you see anyone?
Nope, I saw not a single person going downstairs. Thank God.
No one saw Rapunzel. All right. Whew. I'm gonna
Chapter
I'm
11.
just gonna grab a tissue.
Rapunzel. Here, I said, as soon as I swam back up to the surface with one of the blue gems. There were so many of them, and when I touched them underwater, they were warm, as if they had been captured by the sun that had appeared to set them on fire. It had taken effort to pull one away, and I squeezed it tightly as I returned to Cassandra. I held on to a ledge and passed the gem to her. She placed it in her palm, studying its texture and size, and then holding it up to the sun. Is it possible that it's just glass? Cassandra asked, turning it over again in her hand. Here on dry land, it doesn't seem that it could be that precious. It was pretty, but not extraordinary. Yay. How can that be? I asked, pointing to the cluster of blue gems. These have to be connected to the stones in the poem, remember? Truth was sealed in precious stones. They hold the ancient power that underlies Corona's strength and binds us like sun to flower. Yeah, get another one, Cassandra said, all business. Maybe this one's just a dud. Okay, I said, taking a deep breath and diving back under. The lagoon was so pure and clear that it didn't hurt to open my eyes when I was underwater. I pried another blue gem away from the rock. Swimming back up, I felt the smile on my face and the joy in my limbs. I had a mission now. I had work to do in Corona, to find its ancient power. For the first time, I felt like I had purpose in my new home. How's this one? It also just seems like glass, Cassandra said with a shrug. She glanced up at the sun, her face clouded with worry. It's time to go back. It's after breakfast and you're missing. I left my mom a note telling her I'd gone for a stroll for some exercise, I said, pulling myself out of the water and sitting beside Cassandra on the rock. Smart, Cassandra said. I smiled, sensing her respect at my planning. I'm sure that bought us this much time. We can't leave now, I said. We've only scratched the surface of the mystery. We'll have to come back, Cassandra said as she put her boots on. I grinned. Even if we hadn't started the day separately, we were in this together now. And it was so much fun to have a friend who actually talked. As soon as possible, I said, squeezing water out of my hair. Without a doubt, Cassandra said as she tied her boots. And until then, it's our secret. And maybe our families could help us figure this out, I said as I pulled my dress over my head. No, Cassandra said. If the king and queen ever thought I put you in danger, I would tell them it was my fault that I followed you. Doesn't matter, Cassandra said. You don't get it. I'll be punished. I won't tell. And Eugene would never either. You can't even tell Eugene, Cassandra said. This place could be the key to protecting Corona forever. We need to figure this out before anyone else does. And I want to learn how to swim. This can be my new training ground if I'm going to make it to the guard. She paled. The guard? But you're my lady in waiting, I said, watching her face closely. She let her silence speak for her until I realized, oh, you don't want to be. I was born to defend this kingdom, she said. I recognized the look in her eyes. Then I'll help you, I said, because I knew what it was like to have a dream burning inside, like the candle on a moonless night. Being a princess was going to take a lot of lessons, but being a friend was something I could do right away. I won't tell anyone. You need to train, and I can help you. Actually, there is one move I'd really like to learn. No one has been able to do it for 100 years, and if I could do it, I'd be guaranteed a place in the guard. What is it? I asked. It's called the Winged Beast. It takes 2 people to do it, Cassandra said, but it's dangerous, as in life-threateningly dangerous. I'll help you, I said firmly. Are you sure? Definitely. Okay, Cassandra said. She nodded, smiling for the first time since I'd spotted her in the field from far away. But now I have to teach you which fork you eat your waffles with and stuff. Come on, let's go, Raps. Raps, I repeated. I liked it. It was short and to the point, just like my new hair. Best of all, it had come from Cassandra. You got it, Cass, I said, and we bid goodbye to our lagoon, for now. Later that night, I made bracelets out of the gems. Using a hot needle, I burned a hole through the center and threaded it with a thin strip of leather. I gave Cass hers after dinner. What's this? She asked. A bracelet, I said. I showed her mine. See? I have one too. Matching bracelets? I appreciate it, but jewelry isn't really my thing.
Sparkly.
You mean like poetry and cookies I used? She just smiled and shook her head. Later, however, when she was preparing me for a luncheon with my parents, I saw that it was tied up around her wrist in a very complicated knot.
Yes! That's my favorite line. There they are.
All right.
My dad broke a drill making these, bro.
Yeah, right. So we should read the interlude?
Yes,
Okay.
let's read the interlude. Oh, we can read it together.
Oh, fun.
Okay.
All right. So now we're at the interlude.
Get little Cass.
And the interlude switches points of view between Cass and Rapunzel every few paragraphs. So,
Like every line.
yeah.
Okay, interlude.
For a while, Cass and I went to the lagoon every day, the book of poetry in hand, to solve the mystery of the poem. Cass became a good swimmer, but we hadn't found any clear clues about the ancient power of the lagoon beyond the gems that sparked in the sunlight.
Soon it turned bitterly cold, and terrible storms kept us from visiting the lagoon. When the storms pass, we'll get back to solving this, I told Raps. I had plans for myself in Corona.
While the weather raged, my days indoors were filled with preparations for my coronation, along with lessons in diplomacy, geography, and economics. The closer we got to the big event, the more public appearances there were. Each obligation had rules, dresses, shoes, and hairstyles that went with it. I missed the days of the lagoon, the freedom, and the sunshine.
I hated coronation preparation. I itched to get out and to do something. If I had to fasten one more bustle or dust one more layer of face powder on Raps or myself, I was going to bust. I needed to get out.
Right before the coronation, in a moment I didn't see coming, Eugene proposed to me, as in proposed marriage, in front of a crowd, and I had panicked. Even though I love Eugene with all my heart, I couldn't say yes. I was just not ready to be a wife.
On the night Eugene proposed, Raps was paler than a fish's underbelly. Come on, I said. Let's get out of here and have some fun.
Cass led me through a secret tunnel, and we escaped the walls of the kingdom. We rode like the wind through forests and clearings, caught lightning bugs in our hands, and spun cartwheels on the beach. We paddled across rivers and leapt through the tide pools. I felt like I could do anything, be anything.
The night was ours. I decided to show Raps the weird, spiky rocks on the other side of a stony bridge. These rocks are in the same place where they found the miracle that saved your mother and you, I told her. The air seemed to thicken and hum where we stood. Raps reached out and touched one of the rocks, and that's when the energy around us turned dark and dangerous. Something was happening. I didn't understand, but it had to do with Raps and those rocks. It was as if they recognized her. Run, I said, fear spinning my blood. Run!
As we raced through the crumbling bridge, my hair began to grow and grow and grow. It was scary, relentless even. More spiky rocks sprang out of the earth as though they were chasing us. The roots of my scalp stung as we ran back to the kingdom, and my hair unfurled behind me. The mouth The mouth of danger was snapping at our heels. We survived the journey back to the castle. Barely.
We returned to the castle at daybreak and spent all morning trying to cut Raps's insanely long and now blonde hair a million different ways, but it wouldn't break.
After several hours, I accepted that my hair was back and then I couldn't cut it. I couldn't conceal it. I couldn't escape it. My past had returned to me, and my neck ached under the weight of it.
No wig.
Don't tell anyone what happened, Cass begged. Why can't I tell the truth? I asked. We need all the help we can get. If anyone finds out what happened, I'll be sent to a convent forever. I nodded. Do you promise? She asked, locking her eyes with mine. There was terror behind them. Eek. Then Eugene knocked on the door. Not even him, Cass warned.
We couldn't hide her hair for long, and once it was revealed, I lived in fear. If Raps told anyone I was the one who let her outside the kingdom, I didn't know what my punishment would be, but I knew I could forget being captain of the guard someday. I could forget my destiny. I could forget being me.
I told my parents that I acted alone, and they believed me, though my father forbade me to leave the walls of the kingdom again. As for Eugene, I told him I had just woken up with my hair like this, but he knew I was hiding something, and it was killing him. It was killing me, too. After all, things had really been weird between us after I hadn't accepted his marriage proposal. I couldn't stand the distance between us, so I broke down, and I told him the truth about my hair, about how my hair had grown back. Eugene and I finally felt like us again. I'm sorry I kept a secret from you, I said, embracing him. From now on, no more secrets. What about Cassandra? He asked. That's between me and her, I said, and I took a deep breath. I finally felt better, at least most of the time.
Part 2. Wow, we got through the whole part.
Yeah, I'm proud of us.
Yeah. How many parts are there in this book? There must be 3 parts.
Yeah, I think it's 3 or...
Oh, yeah, there we go. Part 3. So part 2 is really long. Wow. Part 2 is really long. Okay, so we just read that much, but part 2 is long. All right. Well, that's great. So we left off part 2. It begins on page 89 with chapter 12. Oh, thank you. This Rapunzel sticker bookmark that we have going here. Boop. Okay. How you feeling, Raps?
Good.
Good. So basically that was, so now from this point on, we're in season 1 of the show. So it's happening during, the rocks are there. The hair is there. Yeah. So this is during like the beginning of season 1 at this point.
I should have worn my...
Oh, yeah. That would be really funny. Oh, I didn't even think of that.
I didn't think about that either. Oh, well.
Well, like I was going to ask what hair, but you know. Oh, guess we're going to have to read it again. But yeah, so now the hair is there. That's okay. This wig is very beautiful. Yeah, just poof. Okay, great. Well, I think we're going to call it there. And then the next video we'll do part 2. And then the next one we'll do part 3. Or we might split 2 into 2 parts.
Yeah.
Depending.
I mean, it only took us like an hour and a half.
It only took us an hour and a half.
So potentially, maybe we can read part 2 in one go.
Yeah.
But we might need to take a break.
Yeah, do it like a Q&A in the middle. Like, so, how are we all feeling today? I almost cried reading the swimming scene, but oh wait, Cassception.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Never mind. Yeah, I know that was. Whew, I had to like take a minute. I forgot. It's not like I forgot about that scene, but I forgot that like the swimming lesson happened.
Right.
Because I remember the swimming thing, but it's been 3 years since I've read this book. So
yeah.
But wow.
What did it say? She hadn't laughed. She hadn't judged.
Yeah, she hadn't laughed. She hadn't judged. This time Rapunzel gripped my hand, and this time I didn't flinch. Well, she hadn't laughed. She hadn't judged. So, yeah. How are we all doing? I saw that one of you has your little Cass as you're listening. Yay. And I think that's so cute.
We got a hippo.
Yeah,
we got Pascal.
Yeah, we have little Cass. We have Pascal. I almost grabbed like all the dolls, but we'll let them build up as the videos go on. We have more little dolls. But yeah, we have little Cass here. And we have hippo.
Hey, people.
Mm-hmm. Yay! Good. I'm so glad that you
Yay.
all. I'm so glad we had a little, reading
Me
book
too.
club.
Little book club.
Yeah. So I don't know when we'll do the next one. It'll be very soon.
Yeah, probably like today's Friday, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Friday.
Today's Friday.
So maybe Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'll be pretty soon. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but
Yeah.
wait, well Sunday is Mother's Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's appropriate.
Yeah.
Maybe well. Yeah, well anyway, it'll be in the next couple days. So yeah, so the next part will be the same thing. Will she have short hair? Will she have long hair? We don't know.
I'll just keep switching.
Maybe I'll wear my armor next time. Yeah. Just keep changing costumes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. We just wanted to do, something sweet for, Tangled and during quarantine and, just have some story time. And this book is just so special. And
Yeah, and I've been wanting to reread it, so
Yeah.
it's a great way to do it with other
do
people.
that. Yep. And fun fact, this is actually how we read this book. When we got it 3 years ago, we did read it back and forth.
Mhm.
So same exact thing.
Yeah.
Except now with a little bit more like foreshadowing. Yes, this
Yeah.
book is a treasure. So thank you guys so much for joining us. It'll be the same thing next
Mhm.
time. Stay tuned on like
Instagram,
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
Where were we posting about this?
Yeah, Instagram and Tumblr.
Yeah, so social media and the channel. I think this said like the upcoming stream, so we'll probably make the link to that one so you can like go on like the reminder. I don't know how we don't know how YouTube works. We're figuring it out. But yeah, so we'll keep you guys posted. But
Yeah.
thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone take care, be safe, and yeah. Bye. Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you
Thank
next
you.
time. Thank you. Bye. Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Poof.